Chosen one. This is a sealed revelation. Only those who watch until the end will hear it. A counterfeit guide, secretly addicted to your light, is orbiting you and dripping secrets into your spirit to hook your curiosity and tether your soul. They dress the trap in language that sounds holy, but it is designed to lower your guard and gain direct access to your frequency. The decree over your name has already been stamped in the courts of heaven, and their hunt is about control, not love. Before it's too late, lean in, because this trap speaks the language of the sacred while quietly rewriting your boundaries. If this already resonates with you, comment "sealed" right now and subscribe so you don't miss the keys that are coming. You've felt it. Perfectly timed messages, praise that pushes intimacy too soon, and counsel that sounds like wisdom but leaves you strangely drained. The Spirit showed me unspoken soul contracts, tiny yeses made through guilt, gratitude, or fascination that open unseen doors to your peace. Why do your dreams grow foggy after their calls? Why does confusion rise the moment you decide to obey God fully? This is not paranoia. It's the weaponizing of access to replace the voice that called you. The signs were there, answers that come too fast, promises that skip the process, a zeal that tramples over your secret place. The question is not if they are bad people. The question is, do they want your freedom, or do they want your frequency on a leash? Stay with me until the end, because tonight I will expose the hidden architecture of this trap, give you the prayer that severs invisible contracts, and hand you the boundary code that stops night projections cold. When I reveal it, you will understand why God allowed certain people close, not to help you, but to expose the obsession and safeguard the decree already over your life. You'll see the difference between divine mentorship and charismatic manipulation, and you'll learn when to speak and when to go silent. If your spirit is burning right now, drop "I'm watching" until the end in the comments, and please like this video and make sure you're subscribed, because the key to your escape is waiting at the end, and it will only be spoken once. Chosen one. The decree over your life is not a hope. It's a reality already stamped in heaven's records. That's why what's happening to you now feels targeted. It is. Nothing around you is random. Every pressure, every strange coincidence is a direct reaction to what heaven has already released in your name. When a word is sealed in the Spirit, both angels and adversaries take notice. The attacks are not proof that God abandoned you. They are proof that the announcement has been made. The counterfeit guide knows you carry something rare, and they're not just mentoring you. They are circling your crown. This is why you've been feeling the constant highs, day and night. You've noticed the pattern. They compliment you quickly, promise rapid growth, and hand out so-called secrets that make you feel special. But each gift is actually another thread in the web they're spinning around you. The more you lean in, the more entangled you become. It's subtle, so you barely notice the loss at first. It shows up in your energy, in your clarity, in your confidence. And before you know it, you're checking what they think, before you move on what God already told you. This is exactly how engineered dependence works. What feels like care is actually a leash. Then there are the spiritual signs, things that go deeper than just mood or energy. The sudden heaviness after conversations, creative blocks that make it hard to pray, write, or step into your calling, dreams that leave you unsettled, as if your rest has been hijacked. The Spirit whispers that these are not just emotional reactions, they are evidence of unauthorized access to your spiritual frequency. Heaven never meant for your peace to be outsourced to another human being. When your inner atmosphere changes after contact, take that as a warning flare. This is the enemy's strategy, to use the cover of mentorship as a backstage pass into your spirit. By gaining your trust, They bypass the gates you'd normally guard. Imagine leaving your front door open to someone you think is safe, only to realize they've been rearranging things while you sleep. That's what's happening here, only in the spiritual realm. And because they wear the costume of a guide, you've been slower to question their motives. This is exactly why the Spirit is exposing it now, so you can reclaim the keys. Ask yourself, why does confusion appear right after those deep conversations? Why do you feel the urge to second-guess decisions that were crystal clear before? Who benefits when you doubt the instructions God gave you in private? These are not harmless questions. They are diagnostic tools for your spirit. If the answers point toward anything other than freedom, you're not being guided. You're being managed. And the manager isn't working for heaven. This is not paranoia. It's discernment. This cycle is not new. The Spirit is reminding you of past seasons when the same pattern showed up in different faces. Back then, you thought you were just unlucky with people or too trusting. But now you can see it was the same Spirit moving through different vessels. This time, you're not going to fall for it. God has allowed this current situation to come to light so you can finally break the cycle, not just escape it. If you see the repeat pattern, know that it's not because you failed. It's because God is giving you the authority to close it for good. And remember, this is not a battle against flesh and blood. The person in front of you is not the true enemy. They are the instrument being used by an agenda that has one purpose: to discredit and delay the decree over your life. That's why you must fight in the Spirit, not in the flesh. Ephesians 6:12 is your manual here. Your real enemy is operating in unseen places, pulling strings where you can't see. But the one who sealed your decree sees everything, and he is positioning you for a clean break. As the moment of your breakthrough draws closer, the hunt becomes more relentless. This is not your imagination. It is the natural reaction of the spiritual opposition when it senses you are about to cross a threshold you cannot return from. The counterfeit guide becomes more present, more available, as if they suddenly have nothing else to do but watch you. They notice the smallest shifts in your behavior and quickly adapt their tactics to keep you from stepping away. In the unseen realm, this is a chess match, and every move you make toward freedom triggers a counter-move meant to block your advance. The more determined you are to follow the voice of God alone, the more suffocating their presence feels, because their assignment depends on constant proximity. This is why their energy becomes almost overwhelming. They are trying to saturate your space before you realize you need to clear it. It's a form of spiritual surveillance, chosen one. They are not just listening to your words. They are tracking your emotions, your hesitations, and your moments of weakness. And while they may never admit it, they adjust their approach based on what keeps you most engaged with them. Sometimes it's excessive encouragement. Other times it's subtle hints that you need them to see clearly. The Spirit wants you to recognize that this is a pattern, not a relationship. True divine guidance will point you back to God, not to the guide themselves. But here, the opposite is happening. They make themselves the center, as if your connection to the divine depends on them. That is not guidance, that is spiritual interception, and it is as dangerous as any direct attack. You must understand the image the Spirit keeps showing me, an invisible net tightening around you. Each thread of this net is spun from seemingly harmless interactions, little favors, shared inside information, urgent phone calls. Alone, they seem like nothing, but together, they form a mesh you can barely move in. And the enemy's strategy is not to yank you into obvious captivity. It's to make you so accustomed to the net that you forget it's there. By the time you realize your freedom is limited, your patterns have already adjusted to fit the constraints they created. This is why discernment is so urgent right now. You cannot afford to normalize the cage. The seduction always comes before the strike. Just as Delilah disarmed Samson with affection and persistence before she delivered him to his enemies, This counterfeit guide uses emotional closeness to dull your defenses. They will not attack you openly. Instead, they will gather information until they know exactly how to weaken your resolve. They may even convince you that the cage is a safe place, somewhere you're protected from the chaos outside. But the truth is, the walls are not for your safety. They're for your containment. And the longer you stay inside them, the more distant the sound of God's pure voice will become. This is why the Spirit is saying, do not mistake comfort for safety. Some comfort is a coffin. You have been tested in subtle ways lately. Invitations that seem harmless, but would pull you out of alignment. Conversations designed to plant doubt in your spirit about the path you're on. Urgency to make decisions without prayer, with the unspoken pressure of, you need to act now. Each of these is a test, not just of your discernment, but of your ability to stand firm when the pressure comes from someone you trust. This is the sophistication of the attack. It doesn't rely on strangers or obvious enemies. It comes through familiar voices, so you are less likely to resist. The greatest danger is the slow drift, not a sudden betrayal, not a catastrophic event, but a gradual shifting of your focus until the mission God gave you feels less urgent, less clear, less possible. You begin to exchange divine assignments for good opportunities that fit someone else's vision better than your own. And because it happens little by little, you never feel the exact moment you stepped out of alignment. This is why the Spirit is highlighting this now. Before the drift becomes a distance you can't easily recover from. The clock is ticking, chosen one. The Spirit says the time to cut the cord is now, before this net turns into a chain. Every day you remain entangled, your authority is being negotiated away. And the truth is, they will not stop. Their assignment is not complete until you are too tired to fight for what is yours. That is why you must make a clean break, not with anger, not with drama, but with precision and obedience. Heaven will honor your decision to protect the decree, and the moment you step out, divine reinforcements will surround you. But first, you must decide that no human connection is worth forfeiting the voice of God in your life. The Spirit says, chosen one, the very fact that you are being hunted like this is the undeniable evidence that the decree over your life is not just real. It's imminent. The closer you are to the moment heaven has ordained, the more intense the resistance becomes. This is why the attacks feel so personal, so strategic, so unrelenting. It's not that you've done something wrong, it's that you've stepped into the zone where promises turn into manifestations. And in that zone, the enemy can no longer ignore you. The counterfeit guide's sudden obsession isn't about friendship. It's about being in position to derail you at the precise moment the decree unfolds. They know if they can distract you now, they can delay the entire timeline of your assignment. Here is the truth the Spirit revealed. This guide is not an accident. They are a plant, an assignment, designed to look like help but function as a hold. They are not here to destroy you quickly. They are here to keep you circling in the same season so that the gates never fully open. And their most dangerous weapon isn't what they say. It's the influence they've built over your confidence. Every suggestion they give you is meant to steer you 1 degree off course, because over time, that 1 degree becomes an entirely different destination. The more you rely on their input, the less you act on what God has already spoken to you. That's how they steal without touching your possessions, by altering your decisions. The Bible gives us a mirror in the story of Nehemiah. As he rebuilt the wall of Jerusalem, enemies like Sanballat and Tobiah tried repeatedly to distract him with meetings and false alliances. They didn't attack directly at first. They tried to lure him away from his work. And Nehemiah's response was clear. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. This is your season to speak those words. You are in the middle of building something sacred, and these guides are nothing more than well-dressed distractions. Their goal is the same as Sanballat's, to stop the work without ever touching the wall. The strategy is simple but deadly. Remove you from the field where God told you to build, and you will never finish the assignment. This is why so many of your recent opportunities seem good, but not God. They're designed to move you just far enough from the blueprint that the final structure won't match the original vision. And if they can get you to abandon your post willingly, they don't have to fight you at all. They will simply fill the space you left behind. The Spirit says, this is why your discernment has been under such heavy attack. They are trying to wear it down until you can't tell the difference between what's divine and what's distracting. One of the most dangerous elements in this kind of warfare is the existence of what I call emotional contracts. These are not spoken agreements, but silent exchanges of loyalty, guilt, or obligation. You didn't sign a paper, but your heart signed something when you accepted certain help, certain praise, or certain promises. Those contracts bind you in ways you can't always see, and the counterfeit guide is skilled at leveraging them. They will remind you of what they've done for you, what they've given you, to keep you from stepping away. And unless you consciously break these contracts, they will continue to pull on you even after you think you've walked away. Breaking those contracts requires intentional, spiritual action. You cannot simply drift away and hope they dissolve. You must speak against them, pray against them, and shut every door that was opened without heaven's permission. This is not about punishing the person. It's about reclaiming the authority you unknowingly handed over. When those ties are broken, you will feel the weight lift instantly. Your clarity will return, your dreams will sharpen, and your steps will feel lighter. That is the power of a clean spiritual break. The Spirit is making this clear now because your next season demands total freedom. There is no room for divided loyalties when you are carrying something as significant as what's inside you. God is not exposing this to shame you. He's exposing it to save you time, energy, and destiny. Once the net is cut, you will move faster than you imagined. But you cannot carry the weight of unauthorized voices into a season that was designed for unfiltered obedience. Heaven is ready for the next chapter to unfold, but it will not turn the page until your hands are free. Chosen one, the first step in dismantling this trap is identifying the invisible contracts. These are not casual connections. They are spiritual agreements formed through repeated exchanges of trust, dependency, and influence. You recognize them when you realize that certain people have a disproportionate impact on your decisions, your mood, or your confidence. If you feel an unspoken obligation to include someone in your thought process before you obey God, that's a sign of a contract. The Spirit wants you to see that these ties are not just emotional, they are legal in the spirit realm, meaning they grant access and authority over parts of your life that should belong only to heaven. Until these contracts are named, they remain active by default, influencing you silently. To break free, you must first learn to discern the difference between divine counsel and charismatic manipulation. Divine counsel will point you toward God, equip you to hear His voice for yourself, and celebrate your independence in Him. Charismatic manipulation, on the other hand, keeps you tethered to the person, not the purpose. It may come wrapped in kindness, generosity, or spiritual language, but its goal is to make you dependent. If the guidance you receive always circles back to affirming the guide's importance in your life, that's not guidance, it's ownership. And ownership over a chosen one is always illegitimate in heaven's eyes. The Spirit is giving you a practical weapon right now, the boundary code of minimal communication. This doesn't mean being cold or cruel. It means limiting the flow of information they can use to maintain influence. When you stop feeding the bond, it begins to weaken naturally. You don't have to explain every move, justify every silence, or provide updates on your progress. The less they know, the less they can manipulate. This is not secrecy out of fear. It is strategy out of obedience. Some victories are won by speaking less and acting more. Silence is not passivity. It is an active spiritual defense. In warfare, silence can deny the enemy intelligence, and in the spirit, it can keep your next step invisible until it's too late for interference. There's a reason Jesus often told people not to reveal his miracles immediately. Premature exposure invites sabotage. In your case, silence will keep your progress untainted and your decree intact. Remember, the enemy can't attack what they don't know you're building, and the counterfeit guide cannot sabotage what they never see coming. Protecting your spiritual portals is the next line of defense. Your portals include your thoughts, emotions, and spiritual sensitivity. You guard them by filtering what you listen to, what you agree with, and who you allow into your private space. Every conversation is an exchange. Something is always given, and something is always received. If a person's words leave you feeling smaller, confused, or spiritually numb, that's contamination, not impartation. Set a guard over your heart and mind, and do not feel guilty for limiting access to those who do not carry heaven's agenda for you. The Spirit is also placing a specific prayer of release into your hands. This prayer is a formal declaration that any agreement, known or unknown, made with someone outside of God's will is now null and void. When you pray it, speak with authority. Renounce the tie, revoke their influence, and reclaim your spiritual ground. Invite the fire of God to burn away any residue left behind and to seal the areas of your life that were left open. Do this intentionally, and you will feel the shift. Your spirit will breathe again, and your clarity will sharpen as if a fog has lifted. You will know the release is working when the symptoms of entanglement begin to disappear. The anxiety that once spiked after ignoring them will fade. The pressure to check in will lose its hold. Dreams will return to peace instead of confusion. Your energy will be restored in prayer, and your creativity will begin to flow unhindered. These are signs that heaven's order has been restored, and that the decree over your life is once again operating without obstruction. Do not take this lightly. When God restores a chosen one's freedom, it is always in preparation for a significant elevation. When the cords are cut, there is always a moment of stillness, a pause in the atmosphere where heaven begins to re-establish order around you. Chosen one, you will notice that the noise fades, the constant mental pull toward the counterfeit guide dissolves, and in its place comes a steady sense of peace. This is not just emotional relief, it is spiritual recalibration. In this stage, your identity begins to expand again into its original dimensions, uncompressed by manipulation. You start remembering things God told you in the secret place, words you had almost forgotten. Old clarity comes rushing back like a tide, and you feel yourself standing taller, both spiritually and emotionally. The Spirit says this is the evidence that the decree is now guarded by heaven without interference. God wastes no time in filling the space that was once occupied by an unauthorized voice. When you step out in obedience, He steps in with divine reinforcement. This is when you'll see unexpected confirmations, sudden bursts of inspiration, and doors opening that had been locked for months or even years. What seemed delayed begins to move quickly because the obstruction is gone. In this stage of restoration, you're not just free, you're positioned. And the position you now hold is cleaner, stronger, and more aligned than before the entanglement ever happened. The enemy thought the net would keep you contained, but instead, God has turned it into a launch pad for acceleration. As you stand in this restored place, the Spirit will pour fresh oil over your calling. This oil doesn't just anoint you for personal victory, it anoints you for the greater assignments ahead. The clarity you now carry will make you immune to the same trap if it tries to come back in another form. You'll see it from a distance and step aside without hesitation. This is maturity, chosen one, when wisdom born of experience becomes a shield that nothing can penetrate. And from here on, Every step you take will bear the mark of someone who has been delivered and equipped, not just rescued. Your restored freedom is not just for you. It is for every person your life will impact from this point forward. Persecution, chosen one, has never been the mark of failure. It has always been the sign of advancement. When darkness targets you with precision, it's because you have stepped into territory it once claimed. The counterfeit guide's hunt was never about destroying you. It was about exhausting you enough to make you give up what is already yours. But now, standing on the other side of the break, you can see it for what it really was: confirmation. Every sleepless night, every subtle attack, every moment of confusion, it was proof that the decree over your life is visible in the spirit realm. And what is seen there cannot be erased here. That's why the hunt was so relentless. And that's why heaven was relentless in exposing it. Never forget this. They were after what you carry, not just who you are. People may admire your personality, your kindness, your presence, but the enemy recognizes something far deeper. He knows the weight of your assignment, the reach of your influence, and the authority of your voice when it aligns with heaven. That's what they were circling. The counterfeit guide was simply the delivery system for a much older plan, a plan to delay the manifestation of the very thing God has placed in you for this season. Now that the tie is broken, that plan is shattered. What remains is your responsibility to guard the treasure you carry with a new level of vigilance. If you've received this message in your spirit, I want you to declare it publicly in the comments right now. Sealed and untouchable. This is not just engagement. It is an act of agreement, a prophetic stamp that you align with heaven's decree and reject every counterfeit influence. And while you're there, like this video and subscribe, because what is coming next will build on the freedom you just claimed. We are not finished. There are more keys, more revelations, and more strategies to make sure you never get entangled in this net again. Every time you return here, you are choosing to stay aligned with voices that point you to God, not to themselves. From this moment forward, see yourself as one who has crossed into a safer territory, not because the battles stop, but because you've learned how to fight them from a higher place. Every time the counterfeit shows up again, you will recognize it instantly. And instead of being drawn in, you will watch it pass by, powerless to touch you. This is not wishful thinking. This is the fruit of the deliverance you just walked through. The same spirit that exposed the trap will now train you to avoid it entirely. That's how you turn a victory into a lifestyle. The decree is sealed, chosen one, and nothing, no obsession, no counterfeit guide, no hidden agenda can revoke it. You are stepping into a season where every word God spoke over you begins to unfold in rapid succession. The hunt has failed, the net is broken, and the angels have already taken their positions around you. This is not the end. It's the unveiling of a new chapter where you walk lighter, see clearer, and move faster. Remember this: you are not just surviving, you are advancing, and the one who sealed your destiny will see it through to completion.